Learn about NVIDIA drivers on Linux. I was running the recommended, proprietary, and tested NVIDIA 550 driver available in our Ubuntu Studio or other distributions driver manager tool, which will install your NVIDIA drivers automatically using a tested version. Eventually, you may have an issue with this version, need a different version. I have hit a issue with my Comfy UI and CUDA failing that requires me to reboot. And it gives indication it has to do with the kernel or something. Uh, Having an issue with the NVIDIA modules. We're going to have hit where we want to uninstall and reinstall NVIDIA drivers to make sure we haven't used a version installed from a .run file. I want to have the newest version, and I have found a guide on GitHub from Odd Mario, user for Ubuntu 24.041, detailing how to get onto the newest version, not installed with the .run, but we will add a custom PPA repository. You will need Ubuntu based distributions to do that, and you can check out my other videos on how to migrate from Windows and or set up a Linux system. In particular, we look at how to install all of this in regards to CUDA, in regards to NVIDIA, which in those videos we honestly used the driver provided by this tool in the end for the base NVIDIA driver. There are separate portions for CUDA because we work with Comfy UI and Stable Diffusion here on Alien Machine AI. So if you'd like, you can find Odd Mario NVIDIA Ubuntu driver guide or just follow what I do here. I have already gone through this part, to be honest, where we will uninstall the NVIDIA drivers. And what I did to uninstall the NVIDIA drivers, well, was first in the additional drivers tool, I got us onto the Nouveau open source X server driver. It's the open source, standard alternative driver, not using the NVIDIA proprietary aspects at all. It's the open source solution to provide your system with graphics processing capabilities, the driver necessary to do all that and provide you with a desktop rather than just a server. So use the tool to select the Nouveau X server driver, the open source one, so we're not using the NVIDIA one while we try to uninstall it. If you wanted, you could select the X server. If you want to be thorough, restart the computer before the next step. I didn't even restart it, to be honest. I went ahead and did sudo apt get remove -- purge NVIDIA and then the asterisk, which will indicate a wildcard. So it will purge every NVIDIA dash package. Every package within the NVIDIA dash string will be purged using apt get remove. Then run, and this did find packages this time to auto remove. You want to run sudo apt auto remove and then reboot. So you should be rebooting onto the Nouveau driver we just set as default using the driver tool in Ubuntu, or other distributions have a similar tool. If not, you want to make sure that it's going to not have any block list entries for the Nouveau server, X server that were created when you installed the NVIDIA driver. It can blacklist the Nouveau. What you don't want to do is brick your install by having those blacklist entries, uninstalling the NVIDIA driver while you have blacklist entries, and you have no NVIDIA driver, but the Nouveau driver is blacklisted. So that's what a pitfall would be to avoid. So I've done that. We are picking up with these dependencies we will need. This is where I'm doing it live, and we're going to see if this process works from odd Mario user. You know, it's a basic process. That's why I'm just going ahead with it. Right now, we are using apt to install the prerequisites he defines for us. And you don't want to just blindly run this. I mean, I can glance at it and see it's legit. If you can't, you know, don't just run it. You have to learn first, okay? So the following new packages will be installed DKMS. So it's not really installing much. Let's see. The next step is going to be to add the PPA repository and apt update. We might search for what NVIDIA version in particular we want. Let's just add the PPA before we do that while we're having it pulled up. It's adding the PPA. Sudo apt update after, and we will double check the versions. Yep. And right here you can see it's listing the PPA for graphics drivers for Ubuntu Noble in release level. So it's picking it up. Let's try sudo apt list NVIDIA. So if you hit sudo apt list NVIDIA dash wildcard asterisk, it'll list the NVIDIA packages. And we can see there is a NVIDIA 560 driver. Let's do a quick Google search. NVIDIA 560 driver Linux Ubuntu. The recommended version you can see here in the tool with the proprietary NVIDIA drivers from Ubuntu tool listed. The newest one is 550. So we want to see if there's any regressions or issues or in particular benefits of having the 560 driver or other. You can see as we study this Linux driver issue with Ubuntu, we have this listed as a beta version. So 560 could be the beta version in particular. Here's a Linux driver archive we're finding. This is going to provide .run files. We want to use the command line, in particular using the PPA we just added. We're just finding which version will be stable but modern and we want to run. We're running cutting edge softwares, but if it's too bleeding edge, you can have bugs. Things can be more stable with an older version. And I was having the issue needing to mod probe and remove kernels and or remove modules regarding the kernel for NVIDIA, and we're gonna troubleshoot that issue doing this, not having the .run install, not having the default Ubuntu install we didn't have control over, but manually installing things. It will have the system package rather than the .run more generic file, which is applicable to more types of systems, so they use it for distribution on their website for ease for themselves. If you see this download button, it's giving you the .run file for NVIDIA 560. I'm just deciding, do we want 560? Do we want 555? Or do we want 550? And there's even a beta version that you could run. And it's really dependent on what you're trying to do and what you're running. I've already hit the issue, so I'm going to run the let's try 560 because we don't want to run the beta version. But the new feature branch, we're doing AI, Stable Diffusion AI with Comfy. This is fixing some issues with KDE Plasma shell. We use KDE softwares as this is a Ubuntu Studio build. So this could fix some issues potentially. It's a highlight. So there's a lot of issues fixed here. And it's not beta, it's a advanced feature release. Let's go with 560. Assuming it was in that PPA, and we can get the NVIDIA driver 560. So we can use that package name, NVIDIA driver 560, sudo apt install, just a basic install. Let's double check NVIDIA because it's so basic. NVIDIA driver 560. So sudo apt install NVIDIA driver. Let's hope this all lines up and works for us. You can see it's installing all of these packages. It's just going to install the driver right now, which will take a moment. One more tip, CUDA itself seems to have remained installed using those steps. However, the issue I did hit was with my ONX runtime GPU package installed in my Conda environment. I use my own Conda environment to manage these packages myself, and we hit an issue. DW pose node was throwing an issue regarding ONX runtime. The solution, if you have an issue with DW pose or any other ONX runtime related nodes or just anything related to ONX runtime GPU, I uninstalled it and reinstalled it using pip inside of the environment it was originally in. For whatever reason, my DW pose threw an error when I started ComfyUI indicating this. It wasn't obvious the solution, but I after a moment reinstalled ONX runtime, pip uninstall ONX runtime -GPU, pip install ONX runtime GPU after having used conda activate to activate your environment, and that will solve your issue if you have a similar issue. If any other packages were to throw an error, you could try reinstalling them inside of the environment that you run your application in. Okay, that's one last tip I came up with here. I think it's working now. I have Comfy running successfully, I believe. And I am proceeding to a IP adapter video next. So stay tuned with Alien Machine AI.